I am Bruce Barker.
And I'm Anna Octane.
And I'm Hot Rod Bob Beck, and you've got gas here on the Great American Auto Scene. Good evening, everybody. It's another Wednesday night, and we're back. And boy, are we back. If you didn't, the outtakes from the studio will be available in R-rated form.
That's right. It'll be a back, all right? It'll be a pain in the back.
Yeah.
Backside.
YouTube won't publish them. But I can tell you, we know certain things that will never get out. Well,
man, if YouTube won't publish, you got some stuff going.
You got it, yeah. So we've been back. Anna and I were up at the March meet up at Bakersfield this last weekend. A lot of racing going on. Of course, unfortunately, we didn't get to finish on Sunday. We got rain and hail. And we're not talking about John Hale now. We're actually talking about the frozen stuff was coming down just as we were doing the semifinal round in A Fuel. Now, a lot of the other competitors finished their classes on Monday. They finished up the race, except A Fuel. They're going to meet in Sacramento in a few weeks and finish up their final round during their qualifying session. Now, the interesting thing about it was A Fuel had their two fastest passes in history. Two 5-second passes. Doc Kinbates set the standard with a 5.97, and then the Austin boys came in and ran 5.99 on their second pass.
Was that the Tramp?
I don't know.
I think it was a Tramp.
Well, the funny thing about it, it's the only Ford A-Fueler around. It's got a Ford Hemi, and he's sponsored by a Chevrolet dealer. I haven't figured that part out yet.
Interesting.
Yeah. You'd think a Ford dealer would step up.
Yeah.
But the Austin brothers.
Marketing.
Yeah, it sure is. Well, you know, the only way to get a Ford to run quick is put Chevy heads on it. Even Chevrolet decided that back in the day. I mean, you go back to the days of Chevrolet, Louis Chevrolet and his brother, when they left Generous Motors and went out back on their own. They were making high-performance cylinder heads, overhead valve conversions for Model Ts and Model As for racing purposes. Now, back then, there wasn't any emissions issues. As a matter of fact, they polluted like mad. But the object was you got a Model A or a Model T engine competing against other engines in the racing classes that they had at the time, and they ran strong. Now, to find one of those cylinder heads, though, now is tough. But I've got the ad at home, and I show it to those friends of mine who say, yeah, Fords and Chevys has never happened. It shouldn't be. I said, well, it's the way it's always been.
Isn't that funny? You've got the ad at home. What would happen if you send off the $6.95 for
that cylinder head? Yeah. No, I think they were expensive at that point. I think there was something like $400 or $500 at that point.
Dang, that's a whole Model T.
That was 2 Model Ts. So, but you wanted to go fast. It cost you money.
Well, yeah, that's certainly true. Hey, I got to back up a little bit. You said Ford Hemi. Clue me in. What do they specially construct heads? I mean, what's that based on?
I don't know. And I was looking at it. It looks like. Are we disturbing you?
Yes.
No, you're disturbed anyway.
You said that word, the special word.
The special word, Hemi. Or I don't know. Which one was it? Anna's in rare form tonight.
Hemi. It was the H word Hemi.
H word Hemi.
I won't say the other word.
Is that a restaurant that we went to that had wings the other night? No, never mind.
Speaking of hot, I have a joke. First of all, I want to give a shout out to my friends in Lake Carmel, New York at the fire department.
That's right. They're listening
Bobby
in tonight.
Bobby Schlegel couldn't be here tonight with us. So what do you call a fireman in a roadster?
I don't know. What
a hot rodder.
Oh. What's in her water?
And Anna Octane was hoping for...
We're only up in the second floor. It's not she's not deprived of oxygen, but something is good. Did you dye your hair again? It went too far this time.
What? I'm really a redhead. I'm so sorry the blonde's not working out.
It seems to be working out quite good. I don't know. Although we did catch her the other day making corrections on the computer screen with whiteout.
Can I pay somebody not to post those outtakes, please?
Okay, this is the good start.
Blame the intern. It's the intern's fault.
Yeah, we have an intern with us tonight.
It's your fault.
Joey's here tonight.
It's not my fault.
Yeah, it's she's very reserved normally. It's Joey. You're here, and that's and we're
Joey's a hot rodder.
Joey's a hot rodder. He's got himself a '68 Camaro.
I do.
Cool. Got a big block in it.
He's got the big block voice too.
He does. Yeah.
396 big block.
Thrush.
Do the voice. Do the voice.
In the beginning.
Yes, there we go.
There it is.
That is my 1968 Camaro.
Holy crap, that's a
car
pretty
porn.
car.
That is car porn.
Thank you.
She's got a one-track mind tonight.
Those cars make me hot. I learned how to burn rubber in that car. Literally, not
that car,
figuratively.
but a Camaro.
Right up Laurel Canyon Boulevard, I was burning rubber.
Laurel Canyon Boulevard. I wonder what the statute of limitations of exhibition
there it
speed is.
Is that a Hemi?
No.
It's just a big
396
block. Ooh,
no
a big
Hemis.
block.
No, so that was when you were building the car. You put the engine in and started doing the body work. You've got it in primer.
Yes.
See, you're a man after my own heart, too. Everything in the driveway.
Right.
You got to do it in the driveway, or else, I
You
don't
do?
know.
Nobody told me that.
Well, you know that old Beatles song, Why Don't We Do It in the Road? They were talking about sort of the same thing, I think, right, Bob?
Yeah. Okay. Welcome to the Automotive Show. No, it's not tonight. I don't know. We're going to get into that. We're going to have a special guest on, Larry Ofria. He wasn't able to make it last week. He had some special work being done on his car. Tonight, he's going to call in about 5 or so minutes, and we're going to talk to Larry Ofria from the Valley Head Service. No comment.
Okay, no
Anna.
comment.
And we're going to talk about a great article that just appeared in Nitro Madness about Larry. Valley Head Service has been in business for decades, and they are one of the places to go to when you want cylinder head work. And we're going to talk to him about something else he does that many people may not think of, but antique automobile engines. They are specialists in that, and they did, a couple of years ago, they did the Y block for my son's 1957 Ford, and it purrs. It is just beautiful, but they do others, and we're going to show you a video of an old Indy car that's got a Larry Ofria Valley Head Service engine in it, and we'll have to ask him what it is, because unfortunately, in those days, the bodywork covered much of the engine. All I can see on the video is the 3 Stromberg carburetors. And it almost looks to me like it's an Arden.
Arden, which was
a flathead overhead converter. Argus Duntov.
Okay, so all right. He was the big guy.
It's Zora
Argus Duntov.
Zora, he was the guy behind the Corvette Performance.
Zora
That's right.
Argus Duntov.
Yeah.
Why?
But he,
man, that does not roll off the tongue.
Yes. But he and his brother started Duntov cylinder heads, and back in the day in England. So if you find a real set of Arden heads, they have made in England on the valve cover.
What do you know?
They're probably worth a fortune.
Yeah, well, you know, the guys at Peterson, your friends, Bruce Meyer and Donna Roscoe, reproduced those cylinder heads a while back, and they did a very short run of about 10 or 15 of the heads. Don kept a few, and Bruce got a few of them, and then they sold them off. And all I said was they sold them off. There's Larry. Save me, Larry. Get on the phone with us. This is the Automotive Show for the Hot Rodder, and we're going every which way but down the road. I don't know. But we're going to talk to Larry Ofria in just a few minutes, and I think Larry is actually called in. For safety's sake, we're going to put him on the line right now. Larry Ofria from Valley Head Service.
Hi, Larry. Love you.
Thank you, dear.
We have Nitro Madness here with your article in it.
Oh.
Yes, we have you in print and on film tonight.
Except you're not showing the picture of Larry.
Oh, let me show the picture of Larry.
There's
Here
Larry.
he is. Here he is.
In all his bearded wonder.
I have seen the article in about 5 minutes ago, but I haven't had a chance to read it. I hope they didn't say too many bad things about us.
No, they said fabulous things about you.
Fabulous things about you. And
you're the man when it comes to building custom engines and doing all that mechanical guru magic that you do.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some of the things you do. So a lot of people may not understand. I mean, they say Valley Head Service, and I think about just rebuilding heads, grinding valves and such. But your shop is far more extensive than that. You do development work, and you've got some special cylinder heads that you developed a number of years ago that you use on one of your gas class cars.
Yes, I do. That's right. And it took us a while, but in 1974, I decided when I couldn't get machine work done when I wanted to, because we were in the beginning classes of Pro Stock in the late 70s, and when I needed something done, I couldn't get it done in time, so I sold my Camaro, my 78 Camaro to Jim McFarland, and took that money and bought all the equipment for doing blocks. So now we do everything from the flywheel forward, all in the house here. We don't send anything out. It's all done right here.
Now, we're showing some interesting cars on the screen right now, but also some engines. We're showing an inline flathead. I'm not sure what it is. It almost looks like my old Plymouth.
Wow.
But I'm not sure what it is. An inline, looks like an inline 6.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a 1925 Studebaker.
Holy cow.
We love Studebakers.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I know.
And we're showing your shop truck now, I guess.
That's the
looks
shop
like about
truck.
a 62 Ford, somewhere in there, early 60s.
Red and white.
That's a 74 Ranchero that used to belong to a former employee of mine. And,
No, actually, this is an F100 that we're showing right now.
And then I have the one I bought brand new in 1972, which was a GT500 that I bought for my birthday in 1972, and I still have it.
Okay, now we're showing a Hemi here.
Yes.
That you guys did, and the inside of the cylinder heads are coated. Now, a lot of people said use Rust-Oleum and paint the inside of the cylinder head so the oil flows better. Is that true?
Only on iron blocks and heads.
Okay.
I did not know that.
Me neither.
And it also seals the ports up real good so we don't get any seepage from the water system.
Well, I was showing a 409 Chevrolet or a 348. I can't tell the difference from looking at them
See, that's
externally.
why you're the master, because you know the little tricks.
That might be a 409 Chevy, what they call a Z11. They only made 58 of those cars, and they're very rare.
That was the, was that the 427W motor?
It's a 427. The intake ports are the same as the 396 427, but the exhaust ports and the valve covers were the same as 409.
Right, okay.
It was an interim engine that came out in 64, and then in 65 they introduced the 396.
Right.
God, it almost makes you wonder why they bothered with that few in production.
Well,
they were trying to outrun Ford in NASCAR, and that's what brought that about. And then they made a few of them for drag racing, of which we worked on one back in the day of we had just moved to Tarzana, so I would say it was about 1970, 71. But they came out in the earlier Chevrolets.
Right. I remember during the horsepower wars and cubic inches wars, Chevrolet didn't have anything ready, so they just came up with that Z11 motor, which was extremely rare and powerful, but the 396 was a lot better design.
Yes, by far. And then we redesigned the head. Doing work for Smokey Unique, I did a lot of work for him in development in conjunction with Chevrolet, and we redesigned the open chamber head and changed the combustion chamber and changed the ports a little bit over the original closed chamber 396.
All right, now we're showing a picture right now of your 57 Chevrolet Gasser you used to drive, and now other people have driven it for you. You had your car was very competitive in, what was it, A-Gas?
Yes.
And you had the smallest engine in the class.
Yes.
You ran a small block Chevy, what was it, 377 cubic inches?
It was actually 388.
388, okay.
4 1/8 by 3 5/8 stroke.
And that thing would run the number of A-Gas.
Yes.
And you drove it for many years.
I drove it up until I was 72, and I figured out that I wasn't doing the car justice. So I decided to step out of the seat and put Andy Heimstra in it, and he's driven it ever since. And now we have Eric Christensen, who's also doing an excellent job. I'm very
he's
proud
fabulous,
of Eric.
isn't he?
Eric's
He's
a good
wonderful.
Now, Andy still drives for us, but he's driving other cars for us now.
Okay. We're showing the Camaro right now, and this one's got that unique cylinder head that you designed.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about it.
I designed it for a company called Thunder Power, and it's a 4-valve pushrod engine, and it's a cloverleaf combustion chamber. And unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, it flows extremely well.
That's a good thing.
That's a good thing. Now, you run it in another A-Gas car.
Yes.
And we're
yes.
showing a photograph of the car now with the front end exposed, and you can see the engine. It's a work of art. Now, have you ever built a street version of that engine? Because that thing would look amazing in a street rod.
Well, yes, we have. There are several street rods across the country that have them. And answer to your question, yes, I had an old stock, ugly-looking 78 Suburban that we had that engine in, and we had a lot of fun with that Suburban because people didn't understand what they hit, or what hit them, I should say, when we outran them.
Yeah.
It's got a tremendous amount of torque. It's a high-velocity port, high-volume port. It's got both ends of the spectrum, so to speak. In other words, you can have your cake and eat it too.
All right, Joey's got a question for you here. What was the question on the Camaro, Joe?
No, actually, I was saying that was the Ranchero you're talking about.
Oh, the Ranchero in the background, yeah.
Joey has a Camaro. Our intern has a Camaro.
Not quite as quick as your 69 there, but
not quite.
It's he's working on it. It's getting there. It's got a 396, so it's got potential.
It's a beautiful Camaro.
Good. He
I
would
love
be an
the
easy
color
gentleman
orange
to
on
work
that
with.
car.
Yeah,
I love the orange. Oh, what's this one?
That's Joey's.
That's Joey's black and white Camaro.
Yes, ma'am.
Gorgeous.
Beautiful car.
Larry, we talked about the antique engines, and we just showed a couple of them there on the bench. What are the most rare engines you've worked on?
Oh, God, there's many of them. One of the most memorable engine was and we did this about 30 years ago, was a 1908 Oldsmobile.
Wow.
And I was shocked to find that it had a roller cam in it from the factory.
A roller cam?
From 1908?
2008. Excuse me, 1908.
1908.
Whoa.
That's
amazing.
awesome.
Now, Larry, we just got some video, and we're going to put it on screen right now, of an engine that you just did for an old Indy car. All I can see on it is the carburetors, and we were discussing off camera what it might be. Was that an Arden, perchance?
Yeah, we did that Arden for Bob Estes, who used to have a Lincoln Mercury dealership down in Inglewood. I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong office to see the video, so you have to explain everything. But anyway, we did that for Bob Estes, and Dale Estes, who now lives in Las Vegas, still has that car, and it's one of his most prized possessions. But it was, I believe it was the winner of the 1955 Indianapolis car.
Okay, yeah, it's the Bob Estes. It's a blue Indy car, a beautiful machine, and it's got the Ford V8 logo on the nose. And that's, looking at it, that's what we can't see the cylinder heads, but I envisioned that it was an Arden with three deuces on it.
Yes, that would be it.
Now, are those the original or the early Arden heads, or were they the reproductions?
Yes, they are.
Okay, wow.
Now, Don Ferguson over in, I think, Wilmington now makes a reproduction of that head, of which is a piece of art.
Oh, okay.
And he also makes aluminum flathead block now. There's also another piece of art.
Oh, wow. So someone wants to build a real
you can have an all-aluminum Arden flathead. Wow,
that would be amazing. I've seen a few Arden running around. Donna Roscoe remanufactured the heads, made the heads, made some repops of them a few years back. And I know Bruce Myers has one on his 32 Coupe, and I'm not sure what Roscoe put them in, but looking at this car, that was amazing. So it did win Indianapolis in 1955. Now, so that would have run under basically a stock block rule they had back then.
Yeah, most of the cars back then, well, they could have been a stock block, but they still were running the Ofria engines, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, Ofria was quite popular. That was the majority of people were running an Ofria. So to have something else come in there, although they were available, there was no limit on on what manufacturer engine you used. But to win, that shows you the stoutness of the Ford block and the prowess and the extra power that the Arden heads could produce. Yeah,
that was designed for the truckers in Canada. Needed more power to go up and down the hills in their logging trucks. Wow. So that was conceived by Arcus Duntov. That's what Arden stands for, Arcus Duntov.
Right.
then who later became the Corvette designer.
Yep. He became the engineer behind the Corvette, the performance and everything else. That was great. Now, we're showing an engine on screen right now. It's got fin valve covers that are painted yellow. To me, it almost looks like either an Oldsmobile or a Pontiac engine. Or maybe a Kettering motor.
You know, I'm sorry to say I'm at the wrong place to give you an answer.
Tell me some of the engines you've been working on lately in the shop, because I know you've got that great shop in the back that just does the antique engines.
Yes.
There it is now on screen.
Right now, we're working on a 1917. Oh shit! I got a brain fade. American LaFrance engine.
Yeah, fire truck, right?
Fire truck engine. Yeah.
Wow.
998 cubic inches and almost a 6-inch bore and a 6-inch stroke. I'm guessing at all of that, but that's been an interesting project to figure out. What's most fascinating to me is what guys were thinking 100 years ago. And the very little progress we've made in the last 100 years over what was done back then. And in my contention, everything that could be done to the internal combustion engine had been done by 1923. And now the only thing we've got is better materials, better engineering, and better equipment to make the tooling for it.
Yeah, and still just the basic designs. I mean, everyone said, the Hemi. Well, but that was around in the teens.
Yes. I believe it was 1917 again that Chevrolet had a V8.
Yes, his first V8 that a lot of people don't realize that they had a V8 in the 1917, and it was an overhead valve, I believe.
So
too.
it was an overhead valve, not just a flathead.
No, it was an overhead valve, but the problem was no one wanted an economy car with the V8.
Yeah, and not only that, it was so far ahead of its time that people didn't understand it.
Yeah.
So there's not too much that is new today, although we do have things like variable cam timing and things like that, which is an upgrade of the original engine.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the basic concept's still the same, and thank goodness Ford realized how to cast a block in one piece, so we got away from the multi-piece blocks.
I understand that the casting is very, very, very complicated to cast that flathead block and still get it to come out right.
But he was the first one to do it. I mean, that opened the door for others to do V8 engines at a lower cost.
Yeah.
Now, Larry, how long have you been involved in racing?
Oh, you mean when I first started?
Yeah.
Oh, I would say about 60 years. No, more than that. Maybe 65 years.
There's a picture of you up now with Mr. Mondello.
Yeah.
In a golf cart.
Joe was a good man. I can't say enough good things about Joe. He was a great man, and he was quite an innovator, too, himself. But we were the first ones to come out with the flow bench in using, well, I shouldn't say we weren't the first one, but we had more of a modern one than CR Axtell came out with the first one. Mm-hmm. But he was mostly involved with motorcycle stuff. But we built 2 flow benches, one for us and one for Carroll Shelby. So when we were doing development work for Carroll Shelby, he could put the information on his flow bench and relay it back to me, and I could put it on my flow bench and come up with the same ideas and the same numbers. So that was the beginning of the first flow bench, so to speak, and that was built in 1968.
Wow.
And from there, we got to work with Bud Moore, Holman and Moody, Bill Strop, and Dan Gurney, and then later a real fabulous gentleman by the name of Smokey Unique. Mm-hmm. We did a lot of work and a lot of design work for Smokey Unique. Back in those days, there was only about 5 people across the country that really knew what they were doing, and fortunately, we were one of them.
All right, now you make some fantastic things. We've talked about this. Your resume and all the people you've worked with and so forth justifies what you do. How did you learn the things that you know about the cylinder head? I mean, cylinder head building, engine building. It's not like there were classes at that time that you could learn these things from.
Well, what gave me the idea is when I left industry, I wanted to get into the hot rod business, and that was back in 1962. When I worked for a company called Litton Industries, I worked in the physical standards lab, and we used to go around and test all the equipment and the simulators and things like that. We were able to fly electronically an airplane from LAX to LaGuardia and electronically be there within a quarter of a mile.
Wow.
For how do you call it? Self-piloting airplane, so to speak. In other words, if there wasn't a pilot there, if we took it off at LAX, it would be within a quarter of a mile of LaGuardia Airport.
So you had autonomous aircraft. We're talking about autonomous cars now, and you were doing this in the 60s, and we think it's the big deal now.
Yes, that's true. Well, in that, while I was there, I learned a little bit about vacuum and pressure. And putting a little bit of common sense with it is when we came up with the rolled port, so to speak, or the rolled valve seat, of which Ford later on copied in the late 70s, or in the 70s. And that kind of got the ball rolling, so to speak, and people thought or found that we were doing good work, and especially in the Southeast, we started doing a lot of work for the people in the Southeast, the circle track racers. We'll call them that, and we won't go anything. We won't talk about rum runners or anything like that.
Oh no, not at all. No.
That's not legal, you know.
No, but they'd have to turn right and left, and that was, that's anti-NASCAR.
Yeah, right.
People don't know that you did drag boat motors as well.
Right. We used to run a injected fuel hydro with Bob and Mona Watts, and for a while there we held the A-fuel injected fuel hydro class at 165 back in the mid-70s, and one year in the mid-70s we lost 5 good racers, and I said that was enough of boat racing. And of course now it's a lot safer with the capsules and things like that, but we still do a fair amount of boat racing stuff. So
I have a question. If a blonde like me came into a shop like yours and said, will you build me a...
We'll back up. Start that one again.
I said, if a blonde like me came into a shop like yours and said, I just blew my motor, can you fix the motor in my 66 Mustang and make it from a 289 to a 302? How long would that take?
About 30 seconds.
Ah, okay. You're hired, mister.
All you got to do is change the crank, the rods and pistons, but it'd take about 30 seconds.
Okay. I'll have to do that then.
If you want to go to a 347, that takes 20 more seconds.
Oh, okay.
Oh, man.
347 seems to be a real popular combination now for the small block Fords. What does that entail?
Of course, it's a stroker and put out by SCAT, which they do an excellent job. Their products are impeccable. They're very, very good and very accurate machine work and crank. Well, they make a good kit, is what I'm trying to say, and I'm proud to be one of their distributors. Of course, I've known Tom for 50 years, but that's neither here. That has nothing to do with it.
I got involved with SCAT when they were doing Volkswagen stuff, and I was racing the Beetle.
Yes, we did a lot of development for SCAT when they were doing the Chevy V4 for sprint cars.
Right, yes, I remember that. That was kind of a unique engine.
Yes.
Now, when did you start racing? Were you, 17 or so? How old were you?
My first race car was a 40 Ford with a 3/8 by 3/8 flathead. And that was 40 Ford number 1, and now I'm working on 40 Ford number 3.
And we've been showing a 34 Ford on screen. That's also your current project, isn't it?
Yes, I started building that car in 1976.
Yes. And you're still working on it.
And I started to build the engine in 1959. Good things you don't really want to rush into.
No, you don't want to rush this. No, not at all. Now, we just showed some castings for fuel injection. Intake manifolds. Is that something you're producing, or are you just doing the machine work for them?
That's some of the work that we do for Enderley fuel injection. We do some of the port blending on those for Enderley. And We do them a half a dozen or so at a time, whenever they need them. But we do all the blending, and then they do all the machine work, and then they send them to us. We do the blending on it, and then they go back and put the butterflies and the shafts and the nozzles and all that other stuff in it.
If someone wanted to get in touch with you to get things worked on, to get their engine worked on, we have a lot of international people that are looking for someone that knows the American engines, because American cars are becoming quite popular overseas. How would they get in touch with you? And you do have a website, right?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. It's valleyhead.com. But if you really want to get a hold of me, you have to find the front door to hell and then knock on it.
Speaking of the front door to hell, I was in your shop the other day, and you had, a Lamborghini or a Ferrari motor up on the bench?
Yes, we are building two of those for two different customers. We finished the first one, and now we're working on the second one.
What engines are those?
They're Lamborghini. I don't have the model in front of me, but they're V12. One of them is a dual overhead cam 2 valve, and the other one is a dual overhead cam 4 valve. I think they call it a Delabo.
Wow. So you're not limited to just American motors. You're international in scope.
Oh, yeah. As long as it's got a rod and a piston in it, it's my dream. It's my love.
So have you built any airplane motors or helicopter motors? I know you've done boats and race cars and street cars and hot rods, and you do everything, right?
Yes. A while back we were involved a little bit with aircraft racing, too, as well. Huh. One of the guys I grew up was very heavily involved with it. I sorely miss him, and his name was Dave Duschel. We were in two different car clubs in the streets of Van Nuys, but we were like brother and sister car clubs. He was part of the Barons, and I'm still part of the Romans of Van Nuys, along
great.
with the throttle merchants.
So how many people are on your team? How many people are on the team now? I think there's Skip Morelli.
You're talking about the race team?
No, the in the shop.
There's 5 of us.
Okay.
We try to keep it down so we can keep the quality control. At one time we had 19 people here, and it was very difficult to keep good quality control.
So there's Spike. I'm sorry, I said Skip. I meant Spike, and there's Alex and Ruben, and you and Gino and Kim is there running the office, and who else?
We have another good friend who just left here by the name of Steve Dragus, who used to be the crew chief for Don Perdome when Don was down at the other end of the alley here. And he does specialty work for us. And he's very, very, very talented.
You still have your breakfast group on Saturdays?
Oh, yeah.
We do.
That's
9 o'clock at Marie Callender's, 9 to 10.
And that's in Canoga Park?
It's in Northridge here. It's over on the next block from us, just north of us by 1 block.
All right, so you need to contact Larry Ofria. You need an old engine worked on. You want to make horsepower.
Or a new engine.
Or a new engine. Well, if it's new.
Or any engine.
Or any engine. You want to get it right. Talk to Larry Ofria. Go to the website. And what's the address for the website again, Larry?
It's valleyheadservice.com. Or my email is larry@valleyhead.com.
Oh, and I've got an engine built by you. Stormy has engines that you've done the work on for his drag car. And he's got a small block that runs nearly 200 miles an hour in an old I guess it's a fuel roadster.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It's a competition roadster.
Competition roadster. And I mean, it was running 200 miles an hour back in the 60s.
Right. He's had it all these years, and it's still a current car and still runs like it used to.
Yeah, it sure does. Randy actually cut a perfect reaction time with it at the March meet this last weekend.
I'm still laughing at him for that.
Yeah, it wasn't
000.
It wasn't his fault, but he did it.
Do you know what happened when Randy and Dave Grusin, they both came off on a double light. They both came off of the light at the same time, and the Christmas tree kind of went into shock and froze for a minute, and then came up again, and we thought they had both red lit, and they didn't. They both came off the line at the exact same time.
And then they were 1,000th of a second difference at the finish line.
Now that was a match race.
Yeah.
That's a race where I couldn't lose because I do both their work for them.
Yeah, the House of Mouse and Stormy and
the Famoso Mob.
The Famoso Mob, yes, you do. And as we've talked, a lot of other people that made history. Larry, I do thank you for calling in tonight. And we're going to get, now that I'm down in the LA area, I've got to get out there and join you for breakfast again. I haven't done that in a long time.
I love that. I would love that,
it's
Bob.
Fun.
But if you want to read the whole story about Valley Head Service, folks, look for Nitro Madness magazine, and it is their 2017 edition. I think they come out biannually, and this is the latest one. What's the date on that one, Anna? You're pointing at it like that?
What is this? It is spring 2017.
All right, so the spring 2017 Nitro Madness magazine got the whole story and the pictures of the crew. Larry, thank you very much, and we'll be talking to you soon again, I'm sure.
Love you, Larry. Love you, Smoochie.
Thank you. And behave.
Okay.
Oh, Anna,
it'd be hard to do.
Yeah, ain't gonna happen.
I'm teaching you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to learn.
All right,
Have a great day.
You don't want me to rain on your parade.
No, I know. You're the godfather.
Or on your tree.
Yeah, I know.
Say hi to Gino and Kim for us, would you?
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Take care, Larry.
Good night.
Good night.
Now. All right, that was real interesting. Larry Ofria, we've all had work done on our cars by him, and from the conversation you just heard, a lot of the most famous people in racing as well have used Larry Ofria and his team of guys to get the horsepower they need. And the car, the Indy car, that's the one that amazes me. Here's an Ardent flathead, basically a hot rod motor, or as he said, a truck motor, and it won the Indianapolis 500 against the purpose-built Offies of the day.
That is amazing.
And that is such a beautiful car. The owner's so happy they got it running, and he's
driving it on the street.
He's driving it on the street, but he's trying to video it from
as he's driving.
Camera.
He's so excited.
Officer, I wasn't talking on my phone. I was videotaping my car, which has no license plates either. Oh, which isn't legal. Oh, but it ran in Indianapolis.
He could outrun any police car.
Well, you can outrun the Dodges, you can outrun their Fords, but you cannot outrun their Motorola's.
Yeah.
You think about that.
Larry, he actually worked on the Hot Rodders cars of my friends when I was in high school at Hollywood Eye.
Really?
Yeah, he is the go-to man. He I think museums bring stuff to him.
Still doing, yes.
It's amazing.
Yeah, the quality of work coming out of that shop is amazing. They specialize in just all kinds of race engines, but they do an amazing job and have a backlog of antique engines they work on. And that's what we wanted to bring out. A lot of people know Valley Head Service, they do great porting and polishing for your race car. But they do complete engines. They did my son's complete engine, a Y block. It started out as a 292, and I guess it's 306 now, and it just purrs in his 57 Ford, and he's been driving that since he was in high school just yesterday. But it's been 11 years since he got out of high school, so that car just purrs. It's a great little car. The motor just is amazingly smooth, and he has so much fun with that. All right, we're going to move on to something different because, we're going to talk about car clubs.
Yes, car clubs.
And one of the car clubs that we're going to talk about right now, they're calling in right now, is the Studebaker Drivers Club, I believe is the name of it.
I'm a member of them.
You are?
Yes, I'm a member of the Studebaker Drivers Club.
And they're going to be putting on a show at the Murphy Museum in Oxnard, California. And we've got Howard on the phone with us right now. Howard, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Good. Did we get the right name for the club?
The show is put on by the Los Angeles chapter of the Studebaker Drivers Club.
All right, good. Now, this is not the first year you've done it at the Murphy Museum. You've been doing it there for a few years now, haven't you?
This is the third year.
Third year.
The 32nd show we've put on, but it's the third year at the Murphy.
Wow. Tell us a little bit about the club, because Studebaker is a car that many of our listeners and watchers may have only heard of, but don't know much about them.
Well, a real quick bit of history. Studebaker was formed actually in 1852 by five brothers who made wagons, horse-drawn wagons. And they were the largest manufacturer of wagons in the country.
And they made wagons for the Civil War, didn't they?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm in your car
club,
Howard.
I believe only for the North, but I'm not sure.
I'm in your car club, Howard. I should know these things.
I heard the name Anna.
That's me.
You should have locked the membership out a long time ago. I mean, there goes your reputation.
You know what? I'll tell you something about being a member of a car club. If you have a unique vehicle, the car club is where you go as a resource for parts and support and tech. It's unbelievable.
How long has the club been around?
The Studebaker Drivers Club, parent club, has been around since 1972.
Okay.
I don't know how long our chapter has been around, but at least 30 years.
We're showing pictures right now of different car clubs, and we're actually going to talk about how important car clubs are to the vintage car community.
The hobby.
And the hobby, yeah.
You're putting on a show at the Murphy Museum this weekend. Is that correct? What day? Sunday, I believe?
This Sunday.
This Sunday.
March 12th. Starting at 9 in the morning.
About how many cars do you normally have show up at one of your events? 'Cause I've been
typically between 40 and 50.
Okay, and I've been to it when it was at the Peterson.
Mm-hmm. We were at the Peterson for a long, long time before they closed.
Yeah.
For their remodeling.
And you've got a number of different vehicles now. Studebaker was well known in the 50s.
Yes.
More so than anything else because of their Lowy styling.
Those were their biggest years in the 50-51 era.
And
in terms of sales volume.
Anna's got what year, Anna? Yours, Anna?
I had a 47 M5 truck that I sold to a Vietnam veteran and his grandson as a project. And I have my 55 Studebaker Commander that Mitch Hines is customizing. I love that car.
Yeah, I had a 32 Rockney.
A Rockney. I love Avantes, 1963 Avantes.
Great. Well, and if you go to the Murphy Museum, Dave Neal, who operates the museum, he's got an Avante or two. He's got a rollback roof Studebaker Lark.
Right.
He's got his Avante.
He's got an Avante.
Yeah.
And they even had cool station wagons where the back would roll.
Well, that's what we're talking about, the rollback roof.
The rollback roof,
yeah,
yes.
That's what, and
they have one at the Peterson.
Do they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had one in the basement or that bottom floor display for years.
The station wagon at the Peterson actually belongs to a member of our club.
Oh.
It did. He donated it to the Peterson many, many, many years ago. His name is Dan Skidmore.
I'm going to have to walk by and kiss that car.
Yeah. Anna works at the museum.
Studebaker has amazing styling. They are one of the preeminent mid-century modern vehicles.
Yeah, I'm looking at the picture now, and I do remember I had another one. I had a 48 Starlight Coupe.
Oh. They're just so cool. They when Andy Granatelli was involved with Studebaker, he's the one that put the Paxton supercharger on one, took it out to Bonneville, and broke 29 land speed records to prove that a 4-seater car could be as fast as a 2-seater car.
Well, the Avante held the number of speed
very
records.
fast.
Yeah. Think what they've only made 4,500 of them Avantes from 63 to 64.
4,500 or so Studebaker Avantes. After Studebaker went out of business,
okay. Yeah.
Somebody else took it over, and they made Avantes all the way up till about 2005 or 6.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But they were the original 63, 64 Studebaker Avante followed up, and Studebaker was out of business by then, so the people who bought the rights to it put a Chevy engine in it. And they made it, other than the Chevy engine, very similar to the Studebaker Avante till somewhere in the early 80s. And then they started enhancing it, and they put it on a different frame, and so on. And the last series of them were actually based on Mustangs.
Well, I didn't realize that. Now, I've always been a fan of the early Avantes, especially the square headlight ones. I like the glass headlight ones. The round ones the first year.
That's 63.
If you can make it out to our show, we are going to have 4 Avantes at the entrance to the museum.
I'm going to try
in a special spot.
I don't live too far from the museum, and I try and get out there as much as I can. So it's. I talked to Dave Neal about it, just so I could. I want to be out there. The Studebakers are great. I'm not sure what year
I think you'll enjoy it.
Oh, I always do. I've gone to it at the Peterson, and it just. I've always liked Studebakers. My dad, the first car I can remember my father having was a 51 4-door. I guess it was a Champion. The whole family drove Studebakers. I had a cousin that had a President. One had a Speedster, and one had one of the last Packards that Studebaker made.
Oh, now there's the bullet nose Studebaker. Those make the coolest gassers. Sorry, Howard.
As you can tell, Anna likes
Those
modified
are so
cars.
cool.
I'm sure we're going to have 4 or 5 bullet noses at the meet. We always do.
Well, they have a very aviation-inspired look to them. They're so neat.
Mm-hmm.
They almost look like they carried over what Tucker wasn't able to do.
Yeah.
There is a similarity.
How many Studebaker chapters are there in the United States?
Do you know?
I don't know the answer to that, but I would have to guess upwards of 70 or 80.
That's
There's
great.
at least 10 or 15 in the state of California.
See, that's great.
I mean,
We're
they're
just a
all
big
over.
old hot rod family and classic car family, and if it wasn't for car clubs, God only knows what we would do. We'd be floundering trying to figure out how to fix our cars and have people to hang out with, and so.
Oh, they're a great resource
Oh,
for everything from camaraderie to parts.
Absolutely. I looked you guys up when I was struggling to find parts for my car, and now we're all friends, and we have dinner at Denny's, and I haven't been there because of school, but you guys were a godsend.
Well, I'm glad we were able to help. Are you going to be at the meet Sunday?
I'm going to try to be there. I'm working at the Peterson Automotive Museum, and my schedule varies, so if I'm not working on Sunday there, I will be there.
Good. Make sure you look me up.
Yeah.
And say hello.
Okay.
We may do that. All right, so it's Sunday at the Murphy Museum in Oxnard, California. The L.A. Studebaker Drivers Club. It's your 32nd annual meet, and you will be at Murphy Museum. And, ladies and gentlemen, it's real easy to get to. You want to take a nice, cool drive, come up the coast route, and you can go right to the museum there. But check it out. It's the Studebaker show, and they've got a big display inside as well of a number of collectible cars.
There's a number of very nice cars in that museum.
Howard, thank you
and a
very
model
much.
railroad layout.
Yes, he's got. Yeah, it's one of the largest model railroad layouts, and there's a model railroad club that meets there, I believe, every Wednesday night. And they have kept adding to it and adding to it. But there are a lot of events at the Murphy Museum. This weekend, it's going to be the Studebakers Driving Club. So, ladies and gentlemen, go out there. You'll see some great cars and meet some nice people and just look at history. The history of the automobile.
Absolutely. Come out and check it out.
Check it out. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. See you Sunday.
All right.
Definitely.
Bye-bye.
Wonder if they'll have a Rockney there, Bob.
I don't know. And I've only seen a couple like I had. I had a 32 Rockney 4-door. And in 32, Newt Rockney was in the offseason because back in those days, he was the coach for Notre Dame. Well, Notre Dame didn't keep the coaches on all year round. They were only working during the season. So when the football season was over, he was a motivational speaker or the sales speaker for Studebaker Corporation and would travel all over the country for him. Well, they needed to get into the low price field. Studebaker cars were rather large at that time. They were about the size of a Packard or Buick and things like that nature. Well, they were looking for a low price car. So they came up with this design, and it was like a baby Studebaker. It was small. It was about the size of a Ford. And in 1932, they had a lot of styling cues that Ford ended up using in 33 and 34. The fenders were shrouded. The gas tank was in the back, and it was covered by a smooth or a ribbed cover, depending on what year you had. It had suicide doors. It had a very stylish dashboard. They were powered by a very reliable 6-cylinder engine. And the chassis was very stout. One of the photographs I saw of an advertisement was the car with only 3 wheels on it. And it didn't tip. That's how strong the chassis was. It didn't flex as much. It was a very strong, stout car. Unfortunately, right before the car was going to be introduced in 1932, Newt Rockney was killed in a plane crash.
Oh, man.
That negative publicity killed the Rockney line. It was only produced for 32 and 33.
That's too bad, because that's a beautiful car.
Yeah.
It looks like a gangster's car.
Well, there's the one I had, basically.
I love
blue
that
one.
car.
And, and I had it. It was a nice size car. It was a really neat car. But like you, I'm kind of a hot rodder, kind of.
Well, you know
And
what
I had a
worries
Buick
me now that
V6
we're
in it.
talking about it? Everybody's going to go buy them, and there won't be any parts left for me.
Well, the more they buy them, the more they'll be on the road.
Well, if you want to sell your Studebaker, call the LA chapter of the Studebaker Drivers Club, and we'll take it.
When I was doing the marketing for AAA on the collector car program, I spoke with a number of people from that club, and they helped them out, and they had some great machines. I drove my Starlight Coupe up one time to see, and I had bought the car, and I wasn't real familiar with Studebakers. One of the things that was unique to Studebaker was the freewheeling device, which basically when you lifted the throttle, the solenoid would release the clutch, and the car would just coast. And you'd get exceptionally good gas mileage out of Studebakers.
Sure, if you're coasting.
And that was one of the reasons. and that was one of the reasons. Well, it scared the heck out of me.
Oh yeah, because
I thought I broke something.
You let off.
I didn't know what a freewheeling was. I took my foot off the throttle, and I was in third gear, and there's no braking. There's no engine braking. I'm sliding down the road. But then I found out it was a freewheeling device in the vehicle, and that was something Studebaker had. And then the Starlight Coupe was kind of neat because they had a wraparound rear window that came all the way around the back to the front pillar right behind the front door.
Man, I bet you vision while driving was great.
It was amazing. And the kids loved being in that because it was like being in an airplane going forwards. Because the car looked like it was going backwards.
Yeah,
because of that big window in the back. The kids loved it. We used to cruise around with it, and it was a fun car. Unfortunately, I had made a deal with my wife at the time that we had too many cars. We only had 11 at the time, and I had to get rid of one, and unfortunately, the Studebaker lost. I kept the Henry J, and I kept the two-door Plymouth station wagon and the 48 Plymouth that I still have and such. But we're talking about car clubs right now.
And here's some pictures. We have the Spirits and the Hoods, and we saw my car club member Jan Strudewick working on her Merc, and she got a class.
That's who that was. Okay.
She got a class award at Grand National, and we're very proud of that.
How many car clubs do you belong to?
Oh, okay. SEMA, the Association of California Car Clubs, the Automobile Club of Southern California, the Wrench Wenches, the Solosas of Bakersfield. I won't say what that. Spell it backwards, and you'll know what it is. The Studebaker Drivers Club, at least 6 or 7.
Okay, well, then I'm the same way. Early Ford VA Club, because Peg's got a 46 Ford Flathead. The Corvette Club.
Okay.
For Ventura County, because I've got the Corvette. Road Kings.
Right.
Because the drag racing and the Road Kings go together. That's since 1952. I got to think about what
Auto Club. Everybody has to be a member of the Auto Club.
Well, yeah, and they're paying the bills, so I have to.
Well, they've been around since what, 1900?
Yeah, you got to remember. You think about AAA Auto Club. Everyone's it's an insurance company. No, it's not. It was a car club. It started out as a car club, a social organization to bring people together in the emerging car hobby. And people were buying cars. It was fun. What do you do on the weekends? Well, you want to drive your car. They'd set up rallies. They'd set up cruises, picnics, and things. It became a very social thing. By about 1912, they decided their members were being sued. They had accidents. They needed insurance coverage. So they started offering insurance to their members. Only members.
You know what
and
else?
And that's still today.
They were instrumental in assisting motorists.
Yes.
They had the Highway Patrol, which made maps and sold them to motorists so they wouldn't get lost. And then the Sheriff Department adopted that name.
Yeah, and then they would do the signage.
And they did the signage, to prevent intersection anarchy.
And the mapping, and the mapping.
Yes.
They mapped the Pan American Highway. All the way from Central America or South America back up to the U.S., and they still have one of the vehicles used for that in 1930.
Oh, yeah, I think I've seen that.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
And someone we know, Tim Love, from the Forever Ford.
We saw his truck.
Snoot.
Yeah.
He originally restored that car and did some checking, did some historical background checks on the car, found out it was the original car. There was 3 of them made by Ford for the Automobile Club to map out the Pan American Highway, and Tim just happened to stumble on this. One of the other guys in the Model A Club was restoring it, didn't know exactly what it was, but it was unique. It had a lot of different features and flair to it that the standard Fords of that time did not have. They tracked it down, found out it was one of the AAA cars. It's been restored back to the original colors that AAA had.
Oh, that's cool.
So, and I've been able to, I've actually driven the car. It's kind of a neat
screen,
piece.
What you're seeing here is some vintage photos from Satan's Angels. And we're looking at various car clubs. West Coast Customs Cruise and Nationals is held by a car, Penny Pichette, and West Coast Customs, which is a car club. And I think they have like 2,000 members.
Yeah.
And
the
there's
Famoso Mob. How'd that
Mob.
sneak in there?
I don't know. Okay, you know what? That was the club plaque for my pedal car.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Here's the Rod Tossers in Boron.
Yeah.
And Gene Winfield is
Yes.
a member of the SCTA. That is a car club.
The Glendale Sidewinders.
That's
A lot of these car clubs
Sidewinders. These are the Cadillac Kings here.
A lot of the car clubs formed after World War II when returning GIs were getting involved in cars, and they wanted to go racing, but they wanted camaraderie as well, and they wanted help. So they band together as a group. One of the older clubs in the LA area is the Trompers
Yes.
out of Eagle Rock, California. They are still active. They have meetings every Wednesday.
And they have a phenomenal swap meet
Yes, they
for Model A parts, and they have things that are so rare you couldn't find them unless you were part of that club.
And they, one of the guys I know is one of the original members, is still active in the club today.
There's my club plaque.
There's your club, Wrench? Wrenches?
Wrench Wench, because
Wrench.
we are
Say
the
that
Wrench
fast.
Wenches.
Yes.
We do work on our own cars, but if you don't work on your car and you're a member of our club,
Yes.
we decided to call ourselves the Wrench Wenches because wrenches and wenches make your nuts tight.
Okay.
It's true.
Yes, it probably does.
And you know what? Women are
I'm afraid to ask.
underrepresented in car clubs, since the girls, who usually
Yes.
the wives or the girlfriends of Rodders, are now banding together with their own classic cars and preserving vehicles on their own. With the help of the guys. Honey, will you please work on my car?
Hey, Bruce, if you can, while you're searching back there, bring up the Drivers Museum in El Segundo.
Okay.
Because
yeah.
they're
That's
gonna be,
fun, that
They're
place.
going to be hosting a Girls in Cars.
Oh, that's
event
right.
Coming up the 25th.
Is it the
of April.
Gasoline Girls?
Well, the Gasoline Girls are part of it, but there's a whole lot of ladies that are getting together, and it's going to be their cars. And I know Peg wants to get her car out. We're putting all the Edelbrock performance stuff on her flathead Ford
I'm
right
going to
now.
have to go to that, too.
And it's going to be at the El Segundo Driving Museum, the Drivers Museum, where they actually take the cars out and drive. And I've gone down there, and they have 2 or 3 cars set up. They have their own docents that drive the vehicles, and they take you for a ride in a vintage car, not a hot rod, an original car. And after driving in those original cars, you really understand why hot rodding began.
That is so cool that there's a museum that does that.
Yeah, and it's every car in the museum gets driven. And what's coming up in April 25th, or is it March 25th, is Girls in Cars. I think, I forget what the name of the actual event is. We'll see if we can pull it up here. There's the driving museum right now.
You know what else is coming up on Saturday?
No.
Demolition Derby at Irwindale.
That's right. And
I love that.
Yes,
I'm going.
it'll be the first night of destruction at Irwindale, and it's also my first night of announcing on the Oval. So I'm going to be the infield announcer at Irwindale Speedway this weekend, my first night on this.
Well, congratulations.
Yes, come down during the autograph session.
Because you know you give
and
good
say
voice,
hello.
right?
I give good voice. Yes, I can do that.
So does our intern.
Oh, yeah.
He's a
very
baritone.
Good. He's down. He's way down low. Way down low.
You weren't kidding.
Yeah. Well, you see, if he shaves his beard, he's going to talk high-pitched.
Oh, I thought it was something else you shaved.
Yeah.
You know, Night of
that could
Destruction
be.
is so popular,
Yes.
you can hardly find a seat in the bleachers.
Yeah, you know, we've done this, and it's an exciting event at Irwindale Speedway. It's called Night of Destruction. We're going to have late model race cars, actually. We're going to have a big field of late model stockers. They're going to run before the Night of Destruction begins. And the Night of Destruction is going to have a number of different races, all amazingly will dent fenders.
Are we going to do skid plate racing?
I believe there's going to be skid plate racing and trailer racing.
Demolition soccer ball. That was great.
Yeah, that was great. I don't know if we're going to have it that night, but there's a whole card of racing going on. The gates open at 4 p.m.
And you had the best wedding ever, because that was the party of your wedding.
Yes, it was for those
amazing.
of you who don't know, you can check us out on YouTube and a few other things. We've got our wedding was broadcast live on Night of Destruction. We decided to get married on the starting line for Night of Destruction. We figured, what else better to do? But we're closing off tonight. We're going to show you some shots here. This is Night of Destruction, and this is called a trailer race, where you've got to tow a trailer. The object of the race is not necessarily to go fast. It's to keep your trailer because what ends up happening is the guy behind you is using that for a target.
Yes, it's so much fun.
And it's carnage. It takes them 2 to 3 days to clean the track up after they're done.
There's one on fire.
Yeah, well, we'll watch it closely, and you might see someone drive through. But that's the object of the race, is to knock the other guy's trailer off, because if they don't have a trailer on,
there's the soccer ball.
Oh, how'd the soccer ball get in there? Yes, that's a soccer ball made out of the bottoms of compressor tanks.
Oh,
and
this
that's
is
out of the way.
so much fun. And there's lots of little kids there.
Yeah.
It is
look
really...
at that.
Yeah, that trailer's about done. You see the guy driving through it. There he goes. He drives right into it.
You know what? I bet the Lake Carmel Fire Department would have fun at this show.
Oh, you bet. You know it. And this is Night of Destruction this Saturday night, Irwindale Speedway. I'll tell you what, it's worth the price of admission. And I'll tell you what, you can get a season pass for $99. You can go to every race at Irwindale this season, and which starts this Saturday night, for $99. One-time charge. You get a seat every race, every other Saturday when they race during the season. You get your season pass, and there's no trailer left. He's just pulling.
Dragging up
No,
the
that's a jet ski.
Yeah, he's just pulling the jet ski. The trailer's gone.
Oh, man.
Okay, to sum up our show, let's
Yes.
see. If you need good engine work, you go to Valley Head Service.
Right.
If you have a classic car, you need to join a car club.
Yes.
If you want hot rod thrills and spills, you need to go to Irwindale.
Oh, man.
And if you want to drive a car or get chauffeured in a classic car, you go to the Driving Museum. And if you want to see some cool Studebakers, you go to the Murphy Museum.
Murphy Museum. Now, the other thing, too, is we're back in 2 weeks.
And don't forget to be a member of the Auto Club.
Don't forget. We'll do that. Hey,
Thanks for coming and watching. And
give us a shout out on Facebook. If you've got a technical question, give us your question. We'll get an answer for you. You got something you want to sell, as long as you're not a manufacturer or a business, put it on there. And if yours is picked, you get to come on show live, and we'll put your ad on there and get your tech question answered by the manufacturers. Have a good night, everybody.
bye-bye.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.